I used to think teasing him was harmless. A joke here, a sarcastic comment there. Things couples do when they're comfortable, right? But comfort, I learned too late, can turn cruel when mixed with pride. My husband, Daniel, wasn't the type to raise his voice. He was quiet in ways that used to feel grounding, like calm water after a storm. The kind of man who'd fix the sink at midnight if it leaked, or drive across town just because I mentioned craving a particular dessert. He never asked for much, just appreciation. Maybe a thank you, maybe a hand on his shoulder at the end of a long day. But I had grown careless. Words slipped from my mouth too easily, laced with a sharpness that made him flinch. It started with small things. Mocking the way he dressed, his graying hair, his slower pace compared to my friends' husbands. I called it playful banter. He called it mean. The first time I really hurt him, I didn't even notice. We were at dinner with friends when someone joked about finances. Daniel, who worked hard at a job that paid decently but not extravagantly, laughed it off. I, however, made a comment about how I'd married for love, not luxury. The table laughed. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Later that night, he slept with his back to me. I thought he was sulking. I didn't apologize. Weeks passed. The laughter in our home dulled. Conversations shortened. I told myself it was stress, that all marriages had phases like this. But something was shifting quietly, something I couldn't feel until it was gone. Then came that day, the day I broke something that couldn't be fixed. He'd come home early, excited, holding a small box. "Got you something," he said, smiling in that shy way of his. Inside was a silver bracelet with a tiny engraving on the inside. Still my favorite reason to smile. It was beautiful, thoughtful, unnecessary, I thought, and that's exactly what I said. "Really, Daniel? A bracelet? You should have spent that money fixing the car. Or maybe buy yourself something decent for once." His face fell. Not dramatically, not with tears, just a quiet folding inward, like a flame being smothered. He nodded once, placed the bracelet on the counter, and said softly, "You know, sometimes I wonder if you even like me anymore." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Don't be dramatic. You're too sensitive." That was the moment. The shift. The invisible line that once crossed you can't return from. That night he didn't come to bed. I found him on the couch, awake, staring at the ceiling. I asked what he was doing. He said, "Trying to remember when I stopped being enough for you." I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. In the days that followed, he stopped trying. No more morning coffee waiting for me. No more random texts during the day. No more hugs when I got home. He'd still talk, still smile politely, but the warmth was gone. The kind of gone you can feel even when someone's sitting right next to you. And the worst part? He didn't argue anymore. He didn't fight back. He just accepted it. One evening, I tried to joke like before. I made a comment about his shirt being old man style. He looked at me, steady, emotionless, and said, "It's comfortable, and I'm done trying to impress someone who laughs at me for being myself." For the first time, I realized how deep the wound went. His eyes, once full of quiet affection, now held nothing but distance. Days turned into weeks, and silence became the language of our home. I didn't notice at first how complete it had become, how the absence of arguments, laughter, even irritation felt heavier than the words themselves. Daniel had always been a man of habit. Coffee at 6, news at 7, work by 8. But now, those routines no longer included me. He'd leave before I woke up, and when he returned, he moved through the house like a guest renting space in someone else's life. One night, I found him folding laundry. My laundry. His movements were careful, detached, like he was handling something fragile but no longer valuable. I tried to start a conversation, something light. "You know, you don't have to do that." He didn't look up. "I know," he said. "I just prefer things neat." There was no resentment in his tone. No anger. Just distance. That was somehow worse. I started noticing things. The way his smile had become practiced. The way he'd listen to me but never meet my eyes. He'd started going for evening walks alone, sometimes gone for hours. When I asked where he went, he'd shrug and say, Nowhere special. I wanted to ask him if he still loved me. But every time I opened my mouth, the words turned to dust. Maybe I was afraid of the answer. Maybe I already knew. The real breaking point came on a Sunday morning. We were sitting at the table eating breakfast in silence. I reached for the sugar and noticed his wedding ring wasn't there. "Where's your ring?" I asked. He didn't look up from his plate. "It started feeling heavy," he said simply. That was all. No explanation, no argument. Just truth. I wanted to scream, to cry, to beg him to put it back on. But how could I, when I'd been the one who made him feel small, unwanted, unworthy? That night, I found the bracelet he'd bought me, still on the kitchen counter, untouched. The engraving caught the light, still my favorite reason to smile. I sat down and cried for the first time in months, because the truth was brutal. I had mocked the man who only ever tried to love me. The next morning, I waited for him before he left for work. "Daniel," I said softly, "I'm sorry for everything." He paused by the door, hands in his pockets. "I know you are," he said, "but sometimes sorry comes too late." His voice wasn't cruel. It was gentle, almost kind, but stripped of attachment, like he was speaking to someone he once knew well but no longer loved. He left without looking back. For days I tried to fix things. I cooked his favorite meals, sent him texts, left notes in his bag. But his responses stayed polite, distant. Gratitude without affection. Kindness without warmth. One evening, as we sat across from each other in the living room, I said quietly, "Do you ever think we could go back to how we were before?" He looked at me for a long time before replying. "Before what? Before the jokes? Before you taught me that love can feel like humiliation?" I opened my mouth, but no words came. He continued, voice low but steady. "You mocked me where it hurt most. Not in public, not in front of others, but here," he said, touching his chest. "Every time you laughed at me instead of with me, I lost a little more of us." He stood, picked up his jacket and added, "You can't unbreak respect." And just like that, he walked out. Not in anger, not in haste, just quiet finality. That night, I realized silence isn't always punishment. It's sometimes the echo of what we killed ourselves. It's been months now. Daniel still lives here, technically. We coexist like two ghosts sharing the same address. He speaks when necessary, eats when he must. But the man who once looked at me like I was his world now looks through me, as if I'm just part of the furniture. Sometimes I catch myself staring at him, hoping for a flicker of the warmth that once lived in his eyes. But all that remains is calm indifference. And the cruelest part? I can't even blame him. I mocked the one person who saw me as enough. And now, every time our eyes meet, I see what I destroyed. Love that didn't die suddenly, but slowly, beneath the weight of my own words. Because when you laugh at someone who loves you, you don't just bruise their pride. You erase the version of you they adored. And once that happens, all that's left is distance.